Hi everyone, it's about 7:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. Let's turn around and see you. All right, happy Wednesday. Good to see all of you. Thanks for joining. Just walked down the stairs of the Trailhouse here. So I'll go ahead and turn you around. Most of you are familiar with the Trailhouse. It's a fantastic little building here at the Nature Reserve. Originally built in 1942. And the stone was all locally sourced from the Meramec quarry region, I guess here in the Ozarks. So really nice building to come and hang out on when it gets really hot here at the Nature Reserve. You can see our tables are all strapped together. We want to make sure that we're doing our part to combat the coronavirus. So if you come here, make sure you are prepared and understand that the tables are up like that. But the bathrooms are open and available for your use. So a really cool place, the Trailhouse. And from here, we can go many different ways. We are going to take the Wildflower Trail today, right over here. So let's go ahead and get started. Thanks for joining me. Those who are on, appreciate it. Also want to thank those who are hosting watch parties. That always helps share the beauty and the natural wonder of Shaw Nature Reserve further than just this group page. So thank you for doing that. So there's actually 3 ways to get to the river from here. You can take the Wildflower Trail. You can take the Overlook Trail. That'll take you past our Overlook. I think that going down the grade, going down to the river on the Overlook Trail is a little steeper than the Wildflower Trail. Or you can go the long route and you can hit the Russ Goddard Trail, but currently the bridge is out. So you'll have to take a detour if you're trying to get to the river using that trail. So let's go ahead and take the Wildflower Trail. Hello, Midge Watkins. How are you? How's the weather like in Powell, Ohio? It rained here in Missouri like 4 straight days. It was really nice. So it's really wet in here. It hasn't rained in the past 45 minutes or so, but the forest is just very damp and you can feel the humidity and you can smell the trees breathing in here as well, and all the rest of the plants as they transpire. Like our ironweed here. Nice beautiful purple flowers. Try and get that to zoom. Fantastic plant to host butterflies on. So many times we often pass this forest and we look through here and we just enjoy the sights and sounds of it. But oftentimes on my hikes, I want to have my visitors look a little bit closer, because in here we begin to see that the trees are growing quite strange from what a natural forest would look like. You know, most trees want to look like this, nice and straight, one trunk. Then we have a few trees in here that have these multiple trunks, and we begin to see them more and more and more throughout this forest. So we have to ask ourselves, what's going on? I notice all these multi-stemmed trunks. So if you're a flower farmer, or if you're just a hobby gardener, you know that if you cut the flower head off of a flower, it'll grow 2 stems and then 2 more flowers. So just like those flowers, trees, oftentimes if you cut them when they're really young, they'll branch off into 2 or more stems. So we look through here, we can see there's a lot of multi-stem tree trunks in here. So we think, oh, somebody must have been through and cut this. So it could have been mechanical. It could also have been animal, right? So at one time, this was farmland before, or maybe even during Shaw Nature Reserve's existence. And there's evidence of that grazing in here with all these trees about the same ages. A lot of them at least have double trunks. So next time you pass through this forest, take a look for those things and see if you can You know, so that, I mean, when we look for these things, we can learn a little bit about the history of the area just by looking at the plants. Thanks, Peter. Does that make the tree weaker? Potentially it can make the tree weaker, Barb. You know, it takes a little bit more energy to keep both of those trunks alive. Oftentimes those trees we'll see a little smaller trunks in those. But that's what those plants naturally do. So as long as they heal up and are sending the right amount of energy and getting the right amount of resources, those double trunks can live for a long time. So here we are in our glade. It's kind of hard to see. I'll walk around the boardwalk here in a little bit, but a fantastic place to come and enjoy the clouds. Really open here. So our glade ecosystem is a plant community that thrives on really shallow soils. But in these plant communities are pretty unique and infamous plants. That is Rudbeckia Missouriensis, or the Missouri coneflower. As far as I know, these coneflowers are found only in these Ozark glade ecosystems. And then if you can see a little bit further, see if I can try and zoom. We see the purple in there. Yeah. So I believe those are liatris, or a type of blazing star. But again, the natural world always provides us with this beautiful color combination of these yellows and purples. All right. And we come out beyond this chinkapin oak tree here, and the view just opens up. I'm actually gonna have to turn you around because I can't zoom, so 1 second, please. All right. And then we turn around, come past these oak trees, look at that horizon. Just the visual aesthetics of this Missouri landscape are just sometimes beyond compare. And then we look down and we just see fields. This glade is just full of these yellow Rudbeckia Missouriensis. All right, but we're headed down to the river today, so we got to keep going. Oop. Looks like somebody forgot their vase. Hope this is one of our horticulturalists. But you know what I noticed in there? Oh man. Okay. So it is right next to this sumac. I wonder if somebody tried to make sumac juice. My wife just recently made Sumacade. So this is smooth sumac. We know it's smooth sumac again because we look at the stem in this, where this leaf stem is, and it's very smooth. There's winged sumac, which we find that I'll show you. But smooth sumac, you can take the berries, especially when they have this little bit of fuzz on them. That provides a little, like a bitter, but a bittersweet, fruity flavor. And you add that with cold water, ice, and a little bit of sugar, and it makes a pretty interesting drink. It tastes pretty good. Maybe that's just the amount of sugar in it, but it definitely added a little fruit flavor. So this is smooth sumac. And I'm not going to taste this because I don't know what it is. But if anybody left their vase or their smooth sumac juice here on the Overlook boardwalk, please come back and get it. I wonder if that's glass. Ooh, I might come back for that. Hi Tilda, thanks for joining us. We're here on the Glade Boardwalk. This boardwalk is made of eastern red cedar that was milled not too far from Shaw Nature Reserve. But the eastern red cedar, like this tree here, this eastern red cedar that is on the boardwalk, came from right out there. So through our restoration efforts, in the wintertime especially, you can see a lot of eastern red cedar stumps out here. That was through our efforts to restore this pretty fragile ecosystem back to a diverse system of native glade species. And you can see down there, The darker green is a little bit more of our eastern red cedar, so we still have a little bit of work to do. But through our sustainability efforts, we take the cedar out of here, we mill it, and we back here to provide enjoyment and recreation for our visitors. Let's keep going down to the river. All right, I want to welcome all of those who have just logged in or logged in recently. We're headed down to the river on the Wildflower Trail here at Shaw Nature Reserve. Oh. I don't know if you can hear the noise in the background, but there were a couple deer just took off as I was welcoming you all. So as always, if you would do me a favor and just kind of share the city and state where you're watching from. Again, I always love to see where people are and welcome them to Shaw Nature Reserve here in Gray Summit, Missouri. And we'll welcome you with some American bellflower. Nice purple plant. I get that to zoom in. One of my favorites this time of year. This is a pretty little one, but this is called tall American bellflower. I've seen them get up to like 4 or 5 feet tall. Really big purple blooms on it too. Oof. All right, we're on the lookout for turtles tonight. It was wet, they were holding it up in that storm. And now I think hopefully they want to come and dry off. So maybe they come up into the open path. So let's keep our fingers crossed. Matt Hammer from Highland, Illinois. Thanks for joining us. Thanks. Hi, Sully and Cam, good to see you. Jen from Pacific, Laureate from Union, Missouri, welcome. Thanks for joining us. I like when the locals show up on this, but I also like to see some people who are maybe a little further. Hi, Jan from Frankfort, Missouri. Thanks for watching. So we come down here and it is currently 7:45 Central Standard Time here in Pacific, Missouri, or Gray Summit, Missouri. We zoom in on this guy here, and this is flowers beginning to close up for its bedtime nap. This is Partridge Pea, and it's one of these plants that will close up on itself to protect its, these are like its solar panels and all its plant cells, so it protects those plant cells by closing up. And in the daytime, you can kind of get a peek of the big open fans that gather all that energy. So Partridge Pea. Oh, look, an escapee. So here we have rattlesnake master, Euringian yuccifolium, usually a prairie plant, but it escaped and it's doing pretty well here in the forest. All right, this can be the first generation of this genetics here in the forest, maybe. It's always fun to see a visiting plant, as long as it's native and not too invasive, right? Oh, good. I was hoping I wasn't going to get lost here at the Nature Reserve, but nature provides. Well, I guess this is a quarter of the map. We'll grab this and take it with us. All right, let's keep going down to the river. Oh. Can you see her? Lori, you better get Avery in front of the computer here soon. There she goes. Look at that big white tail, letting everybody else know that, hey, something's up. Be wary. Oticoleus virginianus, white-tailed deer. Oh, that's me. Let me turn you around. There we go. All right, let's continue on to the Wildflower Trail. You could go that way. It is a like a little roundabout loop. It'll take you down over to the Overlook Trail, but let's head down this way, the Wildflower Trail. Get to the river. There's so much to see here at Shaw Nature Reserve that sometimes I lose track of time. I wonder if that deer was just as excited to see me as I was excited to see it. Maybe. All right, as we come out of this little forest edge, we make our way into one of our iconic scenes here at Shaw Nature Reserve. This bench is a fantastic place to come and sit and then look over this glade. And earlier this summer, right now, we have a lot of yellow of this Rudbeckia Missouriensis, but this is where we'll see purple coneflower, glade coneflower. The Missouri primrose grows in here. Really awesome place, and it's tucked in quite nicely between this forest here and the forest down in this area. And we have what's left of Baptisia, our indigo. And then we have a redbud, one of our aggressively growing native trees. It's taking root here. These coneflowers are everywhere. Oh man. Some of you might not like poison ivy, but look at the color it turns. Late fall, this is a really beautiful looking plant. I know it gives us a lot of skin irritation, but it is a really beautiful red color. Kind of adds some color to this green background, makes it pop. Toxicodendron radicans, thanks for providing a little bit of beauty tonight. You got to give them credit where credit is due. Coming through a lot of our mountain mint, a lot of this white and light pinkish colored flowers. And you can see it all tucked in here along this Wildflower Trail. And again, simply what we're looking for in mints, that stem, nice and square, that opposite arrangement. Look at those limbs, boom, boom, opposite, and then those clustered flowers. And this is one of our mountain mints, so this is a good one to take, a little piece, crush in your fingers, and nice and minty, very almost spearminty. Oh, and then tucked down there, we have a common of an oak gall created by an insect. So if you find one of these, check it out. I recommend you break it open. We're not going to do it today, so we got to get to the river, but break one of these open gently. The inside is really, really cool looking. I'll save that excitement for you. So I'll tuck it in right here. Come and find it when you're here at Shaw Nature Reserve, right next to that plant, if that helps you all. So here we are. Ooh. So we're moving out of the glade and further down here into this bottomland forest area, and you can tell the light is going to fade quite quickly down here. So we'll adjust the shutter, and then when we pop out on the river, oh, but it's so hard not to stop. I think this is one of our Oxide Sunflowers, or false sunflower. Really bright, or really deep yellow, easy to identify walking down the trail. Nice serrated edges, you look close enough. You can see the serrations like a serrated knife, and it has very rough feeling leaves. Hi Gayla, thanks for watching. This flower is for you, Gayla, Oxide Sunflower. And then right next to one of my favorites, again, American bellflower. Beautiful purple color mixed with that yellow. I think Bob Ross would be proud. As I move down the hill, even though heat rises, it's definitely getting way more humid. It's just so wet in here. Along this Wildflower Trail, you'll find these huge rocks that are just cropping out here. They're full of lichen. The lichen is what's living on them. Remember, lichen is a symbiotic relationship between fungus and algae or cyanobacteria, living in harmony, surviving together. But what I wanted to show you is the irises that you'll find down here. So check out this trail. These irises and these nice purple irises really pop when they're in bloom. So yep, the Wildflower Trail does go down to the trail, or to the river Gala. I'll show you here on the map. There are actually multiple wildflower trails. There's Jane's Wildflower Trail, which is over here, but we are over here on the Wildflower Trail. So it's this red trail here. So we walked down here, we went around the boardwalk, which are those little dark dots. And we took a right here, and now we're here, but this bridge is out right there where the blue meets the blue. There's no bridge there. So we'll have to continue down the Wildflower Trail here, and then we'll go down an elevation. This is nice and sloped right here, these little dark dots. And now it'll take us down and around to the gravel bar. So let's keep going. Oop. When it's wet, it is nice and slick because we do see all of these limestone or igneous rocks that are cropped out here. So do be mindful, and there's a lot of root systems. So it's nice to have a walking pole through this hike. But it almost feels like the Pacific Northwest here. I guess we are in a temperate rainforest zone here in Missouri, and with just all right. Sorry, we were paused for a little bit. I had to hustle up and find me a good wireless signal. So hopefully that's the only interruption we'll have. I walked about, I don't know, maybe 200 feet down the trail to come to a place I can find Wi-Fi. So thanks for hanging on. Hi, Rebecca. Good to see you again. 2 days in a row. Here, I'll let you listen to the forest for a little bit. Turn your sound up. There's a little bit of noise, but it's oddly quiet. It did just rain. It did just thunderstorm for the past few days. So maybe the animals are just now coming out. Yeah. So down the way, we'll find our Rudbeckia Hirta, or brown-eyed Susan. Looks very similar to a black-eyed Susan, except we look at the size, about 1.5 inches or less, and then the number of petals too. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So Rudbeckia Hirta has between about 6 and 12 petals, where Rudbeckia triloba, oh, this is Rudbeckia triloba, excuse me. This is Rudbeckia triloba, brown-eyed Susan, between 8 and 12 petals, about 1 inch wide. And then Rudbeckia Hirta is the black-eyed Susan, about 2 inches wide, and has between like 12 and 18 flower petals. Brown-eyed Susan. Brown-eyed Susans also tend to have more flower heads per plant than black-eyed Susans. Beautiful. All right, so this river trail are those dark dots on the map we're gonna take down here. If we were to just continue around on the red trail, we would just follow this, and it's kind of like it's like a push pin head, just kind of wraps around and then meets back with the trail that we came down. So we'll head down to River Trail. All right, so the plant community dynamic is going to change here in a little bit. We are going to move from our oak and hickory dominated forests, where oftentimes we find these eastern red cedars, and we move down there. The giants of the river bottom will become the majority and the dominant species. So those giants are those cottonwoods and sycamores. Hello, Stephanie. We're on the Wildflower Trail heading down to the River Trail. And here in the summertime, when we make our way down to those giants of sycamores and cottonwoods, we can also expect there to be stinging nettle, also known as wood nettle. Is this plant right here, one that we should all know. Heavily serrated edges, this nice this shape that tapers off towards the tip. Be really careful even when brushing it with your, with your hands. If I can zoom in on it, you can kind of see the white hairs along the stem of this plant. Zoom for me. You can take my word for it, there's, there are some white stems along, oh, there you go. Kind of get a good view of those white hairs. Those are full of toxins. That toxin will make your skin break out in irritation. I did hit my hand on it, so if it does break out, I will show you. It gives a nice stinging sensation, hence stinging nettles. So deer do love to eat these, which is good for us, but there's so much nettle, so just be mindful. Walking through the bottomland forest, make sure you got some pants on, or you can easily recognize this species here. So stinging nettle. There is a benefit to this plant though. We can take it with our gloved hands, rip it up, boil all those toxins, and then we can make a tea from this plant. That helps, is nice and calming, and I heard it helps some respiratory distress, not COVID. Please don't think that's what I'm saying. Or you can take this and you can mush it up, boil it, and turn it into a spinach-like meal. So it is delicious, but there's a price to pay if you're not paying attention. All right, as we continue our way down, you can see this is all stinging nettle in through here. You know, the worst prank you can play on somebody, and I don't condone this behavior, but don't do this to anybody, but you can also always tell someone that you're not having a good day with to go and check out that tree. Again, you shouldn't do this, but if you have a child that's quite annoying and they need to learn a lesson, again, I'm not condoning this behavior. I'm just saying what other people have said. So this is why we can't go down the Rudbeckia River Trail. The bridge here is out. It's been out for a few years now. Major flooding came through here and ripped the bridge down. So eventually it is planned to have a new bridge here. I think we're in the works to gather funding for that. But soon enough, we can head across this little culvert here and make our way around to the Rudbeckia River Trail. That's where this connects. But until then, bridge is out. Please do not cross. Instead, we can go to the gravel bar. So the two frogs that we're hearing are tree frogs. Sound like they're calling to each other. I'll let you listen. It's really wet down here, so you might hear the squishing of my feet. We are currently walking towards those tree frogs. What I was going to say is we're here on the floodplain of the Merrimack River. So this path here is in the relief zone of those floodwaters of the Merrimack. And so this is all rainwater. I don't believe the Merrimack is up that high, but we are going to go find out. So if you're coming down this weekend to Shaw, make sure you bring some waterproof boots or waterproof shoes, or just expect that you're gonna get your feet wet if you head down this pathway to the river. So the frogs we hear in front of us, I believe, are green frogs. Take a listen. So this has been one of our vernal pools that's been wet most of the summer. We've had a really wet spring and now a really wet summer. I guess for the past few weeks we were in a little bit of a drought, but filled right back up, and we're constantly hearing frog species calling from here. Early spring, those cricket frogs. Now later summer, we're hearing those green frogs. A lot of noise comes from that body of water right there. And then always be mindful when you're out here in the lower forest, right? We had a major windstorm roll through. So here we have a very large tree that is over the trail just a little bit. So just keep your eye out on it as you pass under it. Move quickly. Try to enjoy the view from either side of it. But this is I'll stand back here. This is one of our sycamores, so this leaning tree, so it is pretty heavy. That's a very dense tree. Sitting up quite nicely in on another sycamore's little branch, the crux where it meets the tree. What, Stephanie? I can't hear what you were saying. The cicadas were too loud. Let's head to the gravel bar. Again, the largest tree here at the nature reserve. It's really dark down here. But bring your friends and family. See how many of you it takes to hug that tree. I think you'll be surprised about the number of adults that it takes even to wrap itself around. And what a cool contrast between where the rain came from. So this is facing west. So the rain came out of the west on this tree, and the eastern side that was more sheltered. Really cool contrast. But we're so close to the river. I'm so excited. I haven't been down here for about a month or so, so I'd like to see how it changed. Ooh, look at all this, a lot of damage in here. And you can see how big, this is a sycamore limb, but if you want to see how big this limb is, what do we have there? About 8 inches in diameter. This is just a limb of the tree. So be mindful when you're walking through the forest, especially after a big storm that rolled through. So let's see if anything cool washed up on the gravel bar. We're passing through some pawpaw trees. We'll look on the way back to see if there's actually any fruits of those pawpaws. Right. So it doesn't look like there was too much flooding that happened over the past couple days with all that rain we have, but we are, downstream, so we'll wait and see. All this came in the floods of the spring, and again, this dock is still here. It's ready to go. I think it even has some floaties underneath of it, so if you want to come and pick it up, this dock is all yours. There's even places to tie boats on. I think there's some rebar in there still. I mean, this is a perfect dock for a salvage yard here at Shaw Nature Reserve. You come and get it, it's all yours. But we'll move on. I always try and sell that dock to somebody. I'm literally trying to give it away now. Ooh. It's lightening up. We're moving to the gravel bar. Some more damage from the floods this past spring. All right, and we've come to the gravel bar. So we have a little fork in the road. We can go either way. I always love going upriver. I think the better sounds are that way. So we'll head that direction. So welcome to the Merrimack River gravel bar. The smell changes right as you come out of those woods. If you're a river person or know what a river smells like, kind of has like a little gross smell, but you know it's the river, so it lightens up that scent of nature goodness. Okay. So here we are at the Merrimack River. Oh, there's a turtle. The third largest river in the state of Missouri, but also the longest interstate river. Whatever the one that means in the same state. So the Missouri is the longest river that starts in the state of Missouri and ends in the state of Missouri. So I'll sit you all down. Oh, I don't tip over. And let you enjoy the sounds of the Merrimack River. So the river is a little higher than it usually is. It's more evident over here. So usually we can walk all the way over to that little gravel bar there. In the background you can see a great blue heron flying off. It looks like the camera is resetting itself in terms of the light, so it looks like it flashed. That is not lightning, that's just the camera and the shutter reevaluating its situation. Then along the banks of the Merrimack, we'll find willow salix species. A constant neighbor of rivers here in Missouri. So this is willow. You can take this, you can roll it up, and you can chew it if you got a toothache. It has some medical properties, medicinal properties that we can use for pain reliever. I'm forgetting what the chemical compound, the name of it is, but if anybody knows the chemical compound that this shares with one of our current pharmaceutical painkillers, share that in the chat. Yeah, Peter, it's 8:15. Gray Summit, Missouri time. Salicylic acid. I don't know, can somebody confirm Cam's thought? Let's head back to the gravel bar, or a little bit further up it. Yeah, okay. Nice. Salicylic acid. Thanks, Cam, or Sue Lee, or whoever was behind there. Yes, just look at the beautiful colors. Thanks, Jesse, for confirming that for us. There's a lot of cool things you can find on this gravel bar. From cool rocks to, there are always some pieces, shards potentially of pottery. I've seen, or not seen, but there are arrowheads in the Bascom house that were found right here on this gravel bar. So if you have time, come out and hike this gravel bar and see what sights and amazing wonders that you can find just beneath our feet here before the river takes it away, right? So we're gonna head back into the forest. It's about 8:18. I'm gonna get as far as I can back into the forest, but I'll give you one more view of the Merrimack River gravel bar. Nice. Thanks, Rebecca. Salicin is in the willow's bark, and our bodies convert salicin into salicylic acid. Thanks. We have a great community that follows this page. A lot of knowledge, and I really enjoy and appreciate when you all share your knowledge with this community, because that's the whole point of the Sights and Sounds Trail series, is to build these groups that like to share their love and their enjoyment and their knowledge of the natural world. And Chalk Nature Reserve connects us all. All right, so we're gonna head off into the floodplain of the Merrimack. We're gonna follow the cicadas, the sound of the cicadas and the sound of the frogs crawling in there. So we oftentimes, if we need to get back to the trail, we'll just look for this rock mound, also called a cairn, or cairn, C-A-R-I-N. Somebody has rebuilt it for us. And this is our marker to make our way back into the forest. It's nice and muddy, so always keep our eyes on the trail for tracks. It's gonna get pretty dark heading back into the forest, so I believe my camera will adjust. And then I'll try and make quick work of the trail uphill so we can get back up into that upland forests where it might be a little more light, but look how dark it is. So the camera makes it seem much darker than it is. I can see well ahead of me. It just takes some time for this camera to adjust and get a little bit of light. But these mammoth sycamore trees and cottonwood trees, and then in the understory we have the pawpaw trees and the redbuds with their big leaves that really shade out a lot of the understory. We can begin to see the trail a little bit in the camera. the Overlook Trail. So we'll make our way up there, and then we'll come out of this bottomland forest that is so dense of foliage. It's so dark. Only the species that have the right adaptations and have figured out how to live in this understory of darkness prevail. And oftentimes that is mainly the stinging nettle or wood nettle. That's why when we come down here, think about when the flowers bloom down here in the lower woodlands. Think of those bluebells. They come out in the mid-spring before all that foliage comes out. If you want to survive down here and pass along your genetics, you got to do everything before the sycamores and cottonwoods leaf out. I don't know if anyone else watched this cartoon when you were younger about Bongo the circus bear. Oh, Bongo the circus bear breaks free from his train car and he's on his unicycle and he goes out into the forest. And right now, with the sound of all the singing insects, reminds me of the scene in Bongo the circus bear when he spends his first night out, and there's that insect with the saw nose, and there's that insect in the movie that's banging on its belly to make drum sounds, and that's exactly what this reminds me of. So give me a like or a heart if you know what movie I'm talking about Bongo, the circus bear. All right, so we're moving up in elevation. I know you can't see, so I'll describe it to you. So we're heading up the Overlook Trail. This incline curves around to our right. This is very rocky incline. I'm gonna make it up to the top as much as possible. I'm going to stop talking so you all can just listen to what the world sounds like, and I'll try not to breathe so hard. All right. I'm not making things up. Rebecca, Tilda, you're on my side. Ooh, I know you can't see, but a lot of damage on this trail. A big oak tree came down. But we've cleared it, and now we made our way up into the upland forests, which let a little more light in. You can see in the video. But I am pretty winded. I had pizza for dinner instead of Wheaties, and that may be the reason why I'm so winded. All right. Whew. So making our way up the Overlook Trail. Once we hit the top, we kind of make our way out into one of these glades, which is a nice sight to see when you've been in the dark for so long. Ooh. And we've made our way back up into this glade ecosystem, welcomed by, I know it's hard to see, but this is our Rudbeckia Missouriensis. I'll get a better photo in the light. But this welcomes us back into the glade, meaning that we've reached the top of this incline. So it's a nice sight to see. The last little bit takes you right up to the Overlook. And from the Overlook, you can view the tops of the cedars and the sycamores. But in the wintertime, the view from this Overlook is majestic. You look right out over the Merrimack River Valley. Beautiful. So here's the view from the Overlook currently. And you can see the tops of the trees. But in the wintertime, when all this foliage is gone, we can see for miles. All right. Gonna go try and find a spot that's light. Okay. All right. So let's try and do this. Oop. No. Shoot. All right. I know it's hard to see. But I want to thank you all for joining me today. I still have a good half a mile back to the trailhead, back to the Trailhouse. I can see if I can turn myself around anymore to get any more light. But it was wonderful hanging out with you this evening. Thanks for joining me on the Sights and Sounds Trail Series virtual Facebook Live hike. I did the Wildflower Trail down to the river. So I hope to see you out here this weekend. Find some time, bring your friends and your family, go online, get those e-tickets, and maybe I'll see you out here. So have a wonderful night, everyone. Thank you very much for joining me. And then please make sure you find some time to get outside and enjoy the sights and sounds of your area. I'll see you next time.